I was looking to buy a television. My budget was kind of tight, so I had been looking online at like Best Buy and other places for like open box televisions. I found the one I wanted, what I was looking for. Best Buy had it as an open box excellent. Their definition of open box excellent is television is like new. All the accessories will be there, but the packaging could be missing or changed. So I bought the television online. And then I drove to the store, which is like a 45-minute drive to get the television. I went into the store. I bought a couple cables because I need some HDMI cables for the television. Then I went to the pickup counter and told them I was there to pick up the television. They asked me to pull my car up to the doors, which I did. A young man came out with the television, and it was wrapped in bubble wrap and plastic. And I said, "Are you sure this is the right television?" I said, "It's supposed to be open box excellent." He said, "Yeah, 'cause sometimes the box isn't there." I said, "Well, where's all the remote, the cord, the stand?" He said, "It's all wrapped up together." I said, "Okay." He loaded the television in my car. I drove home 45 minutes. I brought it in the house. I started opening it, and there was no accessories there. Nothing was there but the television itself. And the television was in, I would say, fair shape at best. So I got on the line, called Best Buy, and they told me I could take it back and exchange it at Best Buy. So I drove to the Best Buy, which is near me, which is only about a 10, 15-minute drive, explained to him what happened. And he said, "Well, yeah, we can take care of it. Let's see what we have." And he went back in. They didn't have anything. They didn't have another television like that. He said, "I can give you a refund." I said, "Well, I don't want the refund. I want the television." He said, "Well, you'll have to drive back to the Dearborn store." So the next day I drove back to Dearborn. I came in the store and said, "Yeah, I need to bring this television back and get the one that I purchased." And they said, "Well, where's the TV?" I said, "It's in my car." They had me drive back up to the door. They came and got the television. They brought it in. They started looking at it. And I said, "That was supposed to be open box excellent. This is obviously not open box excellent." I said, "None of the accessories are there and the TV's not in that good a shape." I said, "I need to speak to a manager." So a person came up who I assumed was a manager. I don't know if he was or he wasn't. He didn't tell me. He looked at the television. He says, "Well, let me go look." He said, "I can find a remote and a power cord for it." So he went rummaging around. He found a remote and a power cord. The television came on, and I said, "Well, the television is not in excellent shape." And I said, "And there's no TV stand." He goes, "Well, I don't have a stand." He said, "You can take it like this." I said, "Well, this isn't what I purchased." He goes, "Well, let me go see if I have one." So he left again. He was gone about 5 minutes. He came back. He says, "Well, I don't have one of those." I said, "Well, what are we going to do here?" He says, "Well, let me show you these other televisions." He took me back to their section where they had open box televisions, and he was showing me some other ones. He said, "Here, you can get this one. It's only a couple $100 more." I said, "So you want me to pay more money for the television that I just purchased?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I'm not going to do that." I said, "That's a bait and switch. You sold me something that you didn't have, and now you're trying to sell me something that costs more." He said, "Well, the only thing I can do then is give you a refund." I said, "Well, give me my refund then." He gave me the refund. The next day I contacted the Michigan Attorney General's office. And I filed a complaint with them and have been in touch with Best Buy since this. I spoke to their person that handles these kind of complaints. I got all the emails that we've had back and forth. He told me try to find another television, search for one. He said he searched, he couldn't find anything. He asked me to search for something that I would like. I found a television. It wasn't an open box. It was a new TV. I said, "Well, what can you do on this one?" He came back. He says, "Well, I can give you a 20% discount." Well, that still put it way above my budget. And, so I drove to the store back and forth 4 times, 45 minutes each way. I said, "Well, can you give me a 30% discount on the TV?" He goes, "No, I can't do that. I'll give you 20%. If you don't want that by the 20th of this month, I'm going to let the Michigan Attorney General's office know that this case is closed." And I was like, how was the case closed? I'm not satisfied. You said you were going to try to resolve this to my satisfaction. And he didn't. I wasn't able to speak to anybody upper management. You can't call Best Buy. You call, you'll get a call center, and you can't speak to any management type people except for the person that contacted me through the email. I did actually speak to him on the phone. He did call me after I filed the complaint with the Attorney General's office. But when I went to the store, I asked to speak to a manager. The person that came up was supposed to be a manager, but he didn't look like he should have been a manager. I mean, the television that he showed me, tried to sell me, was like $250 more. If he'd have just gave me that television for the price I paid, I'd have been satisfied. I didn't feel that I should have had to pay more money for a television that I purchased, but you don't have. How did you sell me something you don't have? And then try to sell me something that's more money. That's the person that contacted me. We've been emailing back and forth. He's the one that said he looked for another open box television, couldn't find one in the area, asked me to see if there was something that I would be interested in. I did find something I was interested in. It wasn't an open box. It was a new television. He offered me a 20% discount on that television. I countered asking for a 30% discount because the television I was buying was basically brand new, and it was a 50% discount on that television. So when he offered me 20%, I thought, well, how about giving me 30%? We'll get closer to the amount that I was trying to save in the first place. And they would have came into my budget, because with the 20%, it was still above the budget I have to be able to spend for a television. Just being able to work with the customers in an open, honest way. I didn't feel that he made any real attempt to try to resolve this issue. He didn't find anything that he could replace the one I purchased with. I would have, spent the money to, the same amount of money to repurchase the television, but he didn't find anything, and he left it on me to try to find something. And when I did, he really wasn't willing to work with me on the price. And then be able to talk to somebody. I mean, like I said, all this basically went on through email. So there was no one to talk to at the store. There's no one you could talk to on the phone. You can't call a Best Buy store. You can't call. I tried calling their headquarters, and I got the same call center, and they would not forward me to anybody there in their offices that I could speak to, any kind of management or anything. Because I believe people need to know this. These retailers are just treating customers terribly. I felt treated terribly when I was at the store. I didn't see any respect towards me or any real attempt to try to resolve the issue while I was at the store. They tried to give me back the television that wasn't what I bought without all the accessories and still pay the same amount of money. I was paying for an open box excellent. You're trying to give me an open box fair. There's quite a bit of difference in price in those two types of televisions.